Today, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to help improve your roof. One of the first things we can do is add some dormers. They can add a lot of flair to the flat side of our builds. And for this one, I went for the same exact roofing style, using the brick again as a border to help accentuate where it is. To finish this off, I added in a green planter box in front, and this can help add a lot of color into a build that is otherwise just lots of brown and gray. For the back side, I wanted to change it up a little bit, and so I thought about having an extended dormer, so one that kind of protrudes out from the roof, looking almost like a second floor. If you look it up, there are several different types of dormer, and many of them on modern houses have this extended, like protruding part of the build. For this one, I went with the idea of more like a balcony and tried to match it to be exactly the same height as the roof, adding a lot of accentuation to the roof shape and a lot of character on this side. After that, I was struggling trying to get it to make it look like it properly was supported and joined up with the house. But besides that, I finished it off by adding some fencing at the front and made it look like a proper balcony that you could come out and look out at any time. Overall, I think this came out really well. So here is the house with all the dormers complete. Dormers can help add a lot of interest to your build, and just on their own, they can finish it up and make that roof look much more interesting. There are several styles, and I encourage you to look up real life photos of many different dormer styles and see which ones inspire you for your build. Working with shape can be a lot trickier. We're trying to build some extra shape into the build without changing the overall style of the roof. For this, I added some extra heights on the corners and actually brought the middle down. And then I decided I'm going to add a pinched look. So the middle of the roof, or the wood, is actually going to come up to meet the center point more and then slope back down to where they originally were. When working and trying to build extra shape into your build, it's mostly going to be experimentation. You're going to have to kind of come up with an idea in your mind of how you want the shape of the roof to go at, whether it be like a more of a V shape or maybe the reverse of that. And you're just going to have to start placing blocks and kind of experimenting. But don't forget about the bottom trim when you are doing this, because that will help sell the overall look. Otherwise it will look a little weird. There's the roof complete, and as you can see, compared to the regular, that's plain boring now. It has a lot of character to it, especially also compared to the dormers. This one is currently the best looking one, in my opinion. One thing to note is you'll get a lot more wall with this kind of curved shape, and so it can kind of look a little boring, especially at the back here where we've got less windows. But what you can do is bring in maybe a shaped window, like something like this, and kind of take back that space and make use of that extra space. Of course, you'll have to reorganize your ceiling in here to make use of that. But either way, that's for a different video. Let's get back to the roof. There's more we can do. To top the build off, we can add some actual shape texturing by putting in some random slabs and taking some away to add a jittery look, which is really good for rustic style. And to end it all, we can add some discoloration, like some areas are looking a little old with some jungle. I should say you don't really want to place the slabs around completely randomly. We can still see that we've got the overall shape of this curve like this. It's just a little bit more random at parts, looking like there's some old tiles or such out of place a little bit. Now over this side, I did a slightly different look with something a little bit more subtle, using brown concrete powder to add in that same kind of texturing look, but just a little more subtle and not quite as pronounced. And I did finish with a window here to just accent that whole curve here. My final tip is to add another floor to your build. Sometimes you just have too much roof, and with particularly big builds, you want to split that up a lot. Pick an area a little bit into your roof and start cutting into it and then building in a wall. Add in windows to work out the height and then go from there. If you can help it, try and go in the opposite direction. But in this case, the build is a little too narrow, so I went in for the same direction. You can change the roofing style if you want, but even here, I went for the same exact style, and with the added height and just a second roof, it can add a lot of interest to the build. I like this instead of just adding more to the foundation, because this can help add staggered buildings or staggered heights in your roof, which can actually be a lot more interesting than the formulaic kind. Okay, so here it is. I don't really have any extra tips to give. My best advice is to go in the opposite direction if you can help it from the roof that you're working with, and just embrace the height change. I actually really like it because you can have the floor here. This is the ceiling, so that would be the attic. But because we've got the extra floor, we actually have to come up a little more and then go down. This adds a lot of verticalness in like the interior, and it's really, I don't know, I really like it, and it makes interiors more interesting other than this floor by floor kind of thing. Like in this house, it's just, we've got a floor and then another square floor. Actually, I've increased the height in here because of that window, but pretty much it's very formulaic. Either way, let's move on to the last house, which I have done all three things to, and I can't show it to you because I've already done it. For working with all three, I start with doing the shape first. When you're in creative, it is the easiest way to build the shape in and then work on the other parts, because you can get the shape how you really want. So here I pop it all in, and now we go straight into actually building that secondary floor. And this time I decided to try and bring it to go the opposite direction. The problem is we end up with a room that is a square. It doesn't have a rectangle shape, which means it doesn't really lend itself to this style of roof. I had to bring it down the height because I didn't like how it looked. And then as soon as I've done that, we go straight into the shaping again, and I do the exact same shaping style. For this part, I actually added another like end of the roof right there for no reason. It literally is just there for the look. And then we finish off with a dormer over here that felt a little blank. And here is the roof all complete with all three changes. We have the shape design in both roofs. We have the extra floor and the dormer. This house does need some extra details on the walls below it, but the roof itself is very interesting and is getting to the point where it could be almost too busy. I added this little extra bit here as a just for extra look. It's mostly to help compete with this end, having the end of the roof right next to it. Don't be scared to embrace using weird shapes with your roofs, and always try and pay attention to how you think your roof will look as you're building the foundations of your house. It will help a lot. Just before we go, I wanted to show off the Vault Hunters roofs I built for the house me and Wanda designed for our Vault Hunter playthrough. So this is not all vanilla, but many of these blocks are. This is all spruce, this is jungle here, and these are diorite. I added in these other types of blocks here to see what the color would look like with the roof. This is our creative test version before we went into the real world to build it. But this incorporates all of the things that I've taught about. We've got our shaped roof here, and then we've got more of a regular one with straight lines here. We've got our dormers, and then even we've got different roofing styles. Over here we've got the more straight stair style, and then here we've just got them to fill in spaces. We've got slabs for a little bit of a roof here for the entrance to come out of the house, out the back. And even here we've got a little bit of the roofing here to come and bring out this more oddly shaped build. But that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Ciao!